Good morning, good morning, good morning, good people, fellow humans. My hair. Fellow humans, this is Department of Career Services. My name is Edward Bevilacqua. It is Fri-yay. Bonk, Fri-yay. January 23rd, 2026. Wow. This month flew by faster than any other month in the history of months, is what I would say. These are not pajamas. This is my flannel shirt, but it looks like it could be pajamas. And it's early in the morning. Beware the jub-jub bird and shun the frumious bandersnatch. Okay, so it's Fri-yay. This is day 5 in week 4, the last Friday in the last week of our neuroscience-oriented approach to success. Available on Amazon. It is, yes, so that's what it is. I was just thinking, I got a call from the Jesuit yesterday saying his book is coming out. He's going to send me a copy. Should be interesting. And what else? Okay, so day 5, week 4, bringing it all together. Getting close to the top of the hill, top of the mountain, where we can see everything below us, able to answer the 2 fundamental questions. Who am I and why do I behave the way I do from a neuroscience perspective, meaning from a bits and pieces, not ideas, not things that don't exist, but who am I from that thing, from the cells in my brain, the neurotransmitters, the chemicals released in my brain. Who am I? How does that stuff work? Trying to take the mystery out of being alive. We know a lot, but there's a lot we don't know. When I say we, I mean actual scientists. They know a lot. An answer to that question, who am I and why do I behave the way I do? And there's a lot, perhaps, in the how much do we know? If this is all there is, perhaps we're way down here. But we're making good progress in terms of in terms of the brain. Are we there yet? No, but we've made more progress in the last 20 years than probably the last 2 million years. Or the last 250,000 years, or the last 12,000 years, or the last 6,000 years, if you believe in the inerrant Bible. So, yeah. Today we are going to, again, focus on Ignatius of Loyola, but because it's Fri-yay, we have the Ignatius rap. Just a little rap song. It kind of takes the history of his life, starting in 1491, 1 year before Columbus was born. So probably a great time to be born, hearing and being Spanish. Being a Spaniard around that time, probably a big deal because the New World was discovered. Just after he was born, things were happening. Gold was flowing in. Spain was on the rise, etc. Good time to be a Spaniard. Let's see. Okay, so what is our theme of today? It's Fri-yay. It's Fri-yay. You should have had, and the advice from an 80-year-old today was be a good loser. Now, it probably should have been once in a while take the scenic route, because that's what we're doing today. We're just kind of taking the scenic route. It's Fri-yay. It's the end of another week. let us rejoice. But the actual advice from an 80-year-old is be a good loser. Be a good loser. Why? Why should you be a good loser? What does that mean, and why should you be a good loser? Well, what it means is when you lose, don't sulk. Don't, you cheated. You cheated. That's not fair. You're bad. No. Not good. Thinking about next week's TV show. Righto. Thinking about next week's TV show. Who is the guests? These things should be well planned out. Anyway, be a good loser. Why? What's the simple, pragmatic reason to be a good loser? And the answer is so that people will play with you again. That's it. Because if you're a bad loser, nobody's going to want to play with you. And what is life like if nobody wants to play with you? Because you're a bad loser. When I was growing up, you'd always get to pick sides. If you're playing something or doing something, let's choose sides. You choose sides. Let's do this, rock, paper, scissors, to see who picks first. And I wonder if today they don't do it that way anymore because it hurts the feelings of people. Hurts their feelings. In the olden days, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, the idea was, I'm not going to let you control my feelings. Right? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Say whatever you want. It's not going to bother me. Today, it seems that we don't want people to be offensive. Instead of saying, you can't hurt me. I'm not going to let you hurt me. We aren't going to let people be hurtful. You can't be hurtful. I have decided you can't be hurtful. All righty then. Let's go to and see what Seth Godin has to say. Bent incentives. They're not broken, but they're not straight. Who is Nicole Bennett and why does she keep calling me? A few times a day, a voice pretending to be someone named Nicole rings my cell and in a petulant, entitled voice insists she's calling me about a loan that I never applied for. I've never interacted. I block each number, but the calls keep coming. Right. AT&T certainly has the technology to block calls like this, but they don't have an incentive to do so. Sure, we could block those calls, but why should we? At the same time, many subscribers to this blog don't receive their emails because Google has a clear incentive to move the emails to the promotions folder. Google benefits by forcing marketeers and writers to pay them for access to folks' attention. Merged medical practices have an incentive to charge patients more, push doctors to work even more unreasonable hours, and cut corners on medical outcomes. Instagram has an incentive to make people feel as though they're falling behind unless they adhere to the algorithm. And Amazon has an incentive to denature the business model of most of their merchants by charging for advertising, even though they know the ads serve neither merchants nor customers. Tim Wu is our best explainer of how, without boundaries, networks always spiral out of control. His new book is 20 years too late, or exactly what we need right now. But we don't need any more Nicole Bennett. Thanks. Let's see the book. The Age of Extraction, Tim Wu. How tech platforms conquered the economy and threaten our future prosperity. Interesting. Okay. All commissions go to charity. Interesting. The Age of Extraction. Okay. How come I'm stuck in here? All right. Good. Excellent. Let's talk about, for a few minutes, where we are. Summarize, spaced repetition. 4 weeks ago, it was a long time ago, 4 weeks ago, we started this journey of discovery. Probably the most important questions for getting through life that the average, normal, typical person has in getting through life. Not what happens after life, but getting through this 80 to 100 years of life. Who am I, and why do I behave the way I do? Not from a spiritual perspective, not from a psychological, sociological, meteorological, but from what is this collection of 100 trillion cells, or whatever the number is, and 10 times that number of bacteria? This 86 billion neurons in my brain, none of which know who I am, and none of them care. Who am I? What is this collection? How can I think something? How can I have a feeling, think it, figure out how to create precise sound waves that go from my mouth to that microphone, that get converted back into electrical signals that go through 1 million miles away, come out on the other end in a speaker that goes into your ears, goes through your brains, and you feel what I feel. How does that work? Right? That's one of the most important. Who am I? Who am I that I can send and receive information? I can learn and I can teach. I can watch and I can do. How is that possible? So we answer that from a neuroscience perspective. Like, well, where is it happening in my body? Is it in my hand? Is it in my heart? Is it in my spleen? Well, we know that it's in our head. It's in our brain. Why? Because when you damage your brain, those things go away. When you cut off your hand, you might behave differently, but your memories don't go away. Your personality might change, but it's not ripped out of you. When you have a heart transplant, you don't become someone, you don't lose who you were. Your lived past doesn't disappear. Now, your lived past could disappear if you have a heart transplant and you had a stroke, right? Because your brain is damaged. So we know who we are, who am I, And why do I behave the way I do? It's in my brain. So we focus on, well, what is my brain made of? And there's a lot of different cells and a lot of stuff going on in there. And we try to do the minimum, the least facts argument. And it comes down to neurons. That's where the stuff is stored. Do we need the other cells? Do we need the cerebral spinal fluid? Do we need all that? Yeah, we need all that too. We need the blood vessels. We need all of the stuff that's happening. But if we lose some cerebral spinal fluid, do we lose our memories? Do they go away? Does our anticipated future go away? No. So we know it's in neurons. And then we have to look at those. And then we find out when we go into neurons, they're electrical. I think our brain runs on about 6 watts, not a lot of energy, but it's not energy efficient. So about 500 calories a day are needed to keep our brain going. The typical person on a typical day uses about 500 calories. And, just from a physical, how does it work, what's happening type of thing, from that perspective, we're going down. We know that between neurons communicate by spitting out electrical impulses, not electrical, chemicals, which we call neurotransmitters or neurohormones. Or I should say and. So we know that. And then we know that not all neurotransmitters are the same. And one of our speakers says that there's about 4 neurotransmitters that are responsible for about 90% of the things that make us feel good. And we know that when these neurotransmitters are released, it affects our feelings. So we could do things without having language, could have a pretty simple brain if we responded to how we felt. So if we had a feeling of what we would call fear, we might stop doing whatever we are doing. If we had a feeling of a positive feeling, we might continue doing more of what we're doing because it just feels better. And we can't explain it. So think of a worm, C. elegans. I don't know if worms, I guess they do have probably serotonin. But, the neurotransmitters in worms, that would be an interesting question. I would say they do, because they don't have language, they don't have cognitive ability. They respond to what's going on around them. If they have nerves and they feel hot, too hot, they'll go away from that. If they are too cold and they want to get warmth, they will feel better by going to the warmth. And we have the system that regulates, so we don't feel good doing things that are not good for us. So we don't feel good putting our hand in a fire, right? That's bad feeling, not good. Our nerves send signals to our brain, and that gets converted to do not do that. So the idea is the better we understand that, the better we can perform. Almost out of time. I was going to give my analogy of learning to drive a car. So our approach is, before you learn to drive the car, you could have the best driving instructor in the world, but it's better to learn how a car works before you learn to drive it. Because if something goes wrong, you hear a clink, clink, clunk as you're driving along, you might have a better idea of what to do than if all you know how to do is drive the car. That's the neuroscience approach. How does my brain work? Who am I, and why do I behave the way I do? We will pick this up tomorrow. Saturday, and adios, amigos. Adios.